All right, you're listening to another episode of Geek Vice, the podcast of the Bermuda Triangle, which is probably where the graphic with my name on it went, because I don't know why it's not showing up.
Welcome, everybody, to Geek Vice, proving any vice with enough geek in it can become a virtue. This is episode number 26. That man over there.
126.
What?
126.
Did I say 26?
You did.
Shoot.
We went back in time. We're doing number 26 all over again.
This is 126, so like 3 years in the running. That guy over there is Kip. I'm Morph. Good evening, Kip. As I
Good evening.
Screw up everything.
Oh no!
So first of all, the first thing I want to throw out there is a little bit of stuff before we get into our books, because we have all kinds of books for us to talk about. The first thing I want to throw out there, on our Facebook page, you will notice that I put an album out there, a photo album with pictures from the Tabletop Day. Finally got those up there, so you guys can check those pictures out. For anyone that went to Tabletop Day and they want to put some pictures in there, they are more than welcome to share them with us. You can share them. I think you can tag Geek Vice in the pictures, or you can just
email them to us.
Yeah, you can either email them to us, or you can post them right to our Facebook page. I have opened up our Facebook page to allow people to, for fans to post stuff. So if you ever see something that you want us to, that you think we like, tag us in it or throw it on our page. You can do that now. So, yeah, and if you do and you don't see it up there, email me so that I can make sure that I can get that fixed so that they do show up, because that's what we want. We want community interaction, so you can talk to us.
Yes, or send boob pics. It's up to you.
Yeah, either way. Either way, we're all good with that. Especially the creepy old man over there on the other side of the screen. So, what is going on, Kip?
Well, I pre-ordered Deadpool, which comes out tomorrow. And when I checked my mail today, there it is. There it is. You got the Deadpool DVD a day early, which means nothing because I haven't watched it yet.
But it's still awesome.
That's right. And it even comes with a sleeve that has texture, so you kind of feel what his mask feels like. So you can rub one off with Deadpool if you want.
Yep, that's a Deadpool joke for you.
There it is. Yeah, I started his Dead Presidents comic. I won't go into it because I haven't finished it, but I got the whole run for 99 cents for buying this DVD. It's funny as hell. I'm loving it.
Yeah, that's
I got a ways to go to finish it, but I'm loving it.
I have to check that one out. I don't know that I've read that one. But I haven't read a lot of the Deadpool stuff. We won't talk too much about it, but I know that over the weekend you went and saw a famous movie.
Well, aren't all movies famous? But this was famous for the right reasons. I went and saw Civil War. El Capitan America, Civil War. And we won't go into that too much because somebody on the other side of that screen has not seen it yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I have listened to the spoiler-filled Fat Man on Batman. So I kind of know a lot of what's happened, but I do want to see it myself too, just kind of before I start talking about it and how good that I've heard it is. I'd like to be able to just say definitively, yes, I have seen it, and yes, it is that amazing. So just a real quick overview there, Kip. Everybody needs to go see this. Nobody should go see it, or it's 50-50 out there.
Oh, you should definitely go see it. A lot of the reviews, almost every review I read said it's the best Avenger Marvel offering. Even though it's not an Avenger movie, it might as well be. It's supposed to be a Captain America movie, but almost everybody's in it. They say it's the best one. I disagree. I think I'm not going to throw Guardians of the Galaxy into the mix because they're still outside of that universe so far. But I think the first Avengers and I think Captain America Winter Soldier were better than this one.
Okay.
But that's still a pretty high bar. It was a good movie. In fact, I'm going to go see it in the theater again sometime soon. I liked it that much.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I have heard really good things. And I mean, Captain America Winter Soldier should kind of have a similar feel to it. It's the same directors, the Russo brothers directing it. So,
yeah, well, and the only reason I say it's not the best one is because it's Empire Strikes Back. It is a setup movie. Everything that could go wrong for the good guys goes wrong. When the movie ends, nothing's really resolved. Even the bad guy is still alive, kind of thing. So It's a good setup movie. So the next one should be freaking awesome. This one was good. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was well worth the money, worth the time. But it was your traditional Hollywood setup movie. And that was, you walked out going, damn. They didn't resolve anything.
No.
Now I got to wait 2 years to see what the hell happens.
Yeah. Well, and it's the I've read a few things on that, and I've heard a lot of people say that similar thing. So, it did just come out last week, so be prepared. We will talk about it in the near future. But we just want to talk about it tonight.
Yeah. When Morph is let out of the house and sees the movie. In fact, when you go, let me know and I'll go with you. We'll go do another screen or something because that's the bomb.
Yeah. I think we should be able to do that sometime here soon. So tonight's episode of Geek Vice is all about the books. We have Kip's read a couple of novels he wanted to talk about, and I have read a graphic novel. So it was never in an individual individual issues. This was written as one big story, and there's only one issue of it. And this is it. There's no add-on to it, and so we'll talk about that coming up here. But Kip, you got a couple of books, so let's talk about your couple of books.
Yeah, and I'm sure people are surprised that I'm actually not reviewing a coloring book. I can actually read. So I think I'm going to start off with the sci-fi book that I read, and it's called Seeker by Jack McDivitt. It's not a brand new book. In fact, it was a 2006 Nebula Award winner, so it's 10 years old. And it's not even the first book in the series. It's the Alex Benedict series. It's number 3 in the run. But I picked this one out to talk about because it mostly focuses on his female assistant, Chase Colpath. So I kind of felt like it was a transition book.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chase could take over a run of her own. And the premise behind the book is it's 9,000 years in the future. And Chase and Alex are basically archaeologists who go around to planets and derelict ships and basically Indiana Jones the shit out of it.
Nice.
Yeah. And so way back 9,000 years before these people, which was probably the equivalent to like 400 or 500 years from now, the human race has developed the ability to visit distant stars. We got the faster than light drive or whatever you want to call it, so we can explore the universe. And of course, being kind of nowadays, 500 years in the future nowadays, but when you're talking in thousands of years, it was nowadays.
Right.
Earth is so corrupt that this group of people called Margolians, named after this guy who started the movement, they decide they're going to take these two ships and they're just going to leave. They're not going to tell anybody where they're going. They're just going to go create their own settlement and hope to distance themselves from crappy old corrupt us. So, with all that said, in 9,000 years from then, there's all these movies and books and stuff about, kind of like we would have with Independence Day, where the Margolians come back and they're more technologically, I can't even speak, advanced. Right. And try to take over the earth and all that stuff. So, people have this whole, I'm afraid of the Margolians thing. Well, this lady brings this cup to Chase and Alex, and it's got this symbol on it and some writing on it that I'm guessing is probably English like you and I know it, but they don't know what it is. It's 9,000 years, and so who knows what language they speak. So they do some research, and they find out it comes from this ship called the Seeker, which was the ship 9,000 years previous that the Margolians left in, one of the ships. So basically the book is, holy crap, where did she get this cup? This loser is no way capable of getting this cup on her own, so they do some digging and go on basically a galactic wild goose chase. It's a fun read. It's kind of a treasure hunt in outer space for the reader. It's pretty cool. There's, of course, I'm going to call them religious nut jobs, but they could just be your run-of-the-mill nut jobs that think people that Indiana Jones, these derelict ships and these lost societies on other planets should be murdered. They should not be allowed to do this. So Chase and Alex are always in danger.
Sure.
And there's only one alien civilization that we've come across in the 9,000 years, and she has to go spend time with them. They're called the Mutes because they speak telepathically, and it's very unsettling for humans. So that part of the book was very fascinating. It was like, what would it be like sitting in a quiet room with all these different people knowing they're reading your mind and there's not a dang thing you could do about it?
Right.
So that I found that part very fascinating. The steps they go through to figure out where this cup came from, the traveling she had to do, because basically this book is about Chase. Alex is a very, I won't say a minor character, but he's definitely not the major character. He's like Mr. White in the Daily Planet kind of character. He comes in, tells everybody what to do, and then Chase goes out and does it, and you follow her.
Right. Okay.
Well, yeah. So, there's the near-death things from the nut jobs. There's all these distant planets she goes through. There's all this intrigue and puzzle solving. And the way the book finishes is a nice finale. I won't give it away for people who want to read it. I just highly recommend this book, Seeker by Jack McDivitt. If you like problem solving, a little intrigue, some near-death experiences, imagining life, what it'd be like 9,000 years from now, then this book is for you.
Very cool. Well, and it seems like there's a lot of people out there that like it. You go and look at the Goodreads, which is kind of like your Goodreads for books, is similar to like Rotten Tomatoes for movies, and it's got a 3.8 out of 5, or almost 3.9 out of 5 stars. So that's pretty good when you're talking about 5,000, over almost 5,500 ratings, and it's gotten a 3.9. That's really good.
It is really good. It's nice to see high ratings from a book that gets that numerous amount of ratings. That way, it's just not one person saying, "Hey, I'm a friend of Jack McDivitt's and this book is awesome." No, it's actual real people taking a look at it. And
that's really cool.
Yeah, and
So my question for you, did you actually read this book or was this an audio book that you listened to?
This was I physically read this book.
What?
I know. I went to the library and it's like, I want sci-fi. And so I did some research. My favorite thing to do is go to our library site, and it has a section that says, let us pick out the book for you, kind of a thing. And one of the categories is Nebula Award winners, which is the best sci-fi books of that year. It just happened to be the Nebula Award winner for 2006. So I said, I'll give it a shot. And I was not disappointed.
Very cool.
And to have 5,500 reads on a website for a book that's over 10 years old, I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
That should tell you what you need to know. Read that book. Read it. It's an easy read. It's a page turner. It's over I think it's close to 400 pages, and as slow as I read, I was still able to get through it.
That's good. That sounds really good. I'll have to add that to my list of the books that I'll eventually one day get to. Though I'll get to them about as soon as I get to get through all the movies that I have on my list as well. This is the reason why I don't get anything done. People ask me why I don't get anything done is because I have this giant list of all the things that I want to do, and I just slowly start marking those off, and it takes a long time to get through that list.
Well, there is an Audible version of this. If you can't get to reading it, you can listen to it on your drive to work.
Yeah.
So there's that option. But I decided to read the physical copy.
Very cool. So I'll give you a little bit of a break since you've been talking about that, and we'll talk a little bit about a book called Silence and Company. So Silence and Company is your typical it's your typical hitman type story. So the back, here's the nice little fancy cover for it, which I picked this up because of the cover, because the cover.
You judged the book by its cover?
I did. So this graphic novel just looked cool. It's by, I'll probably butcher his first name. His name is spelled G-U-R, so I'm going to go with Gur. Gur Benchemis is the writer of this. He is the writer and artist for it. He and the name of the book is Silence and Company, Money is Power. So if, for those of you who have never read a graphic novel similar to a comic book, in the sense that every page is just like a comic book. It's got your pictures, it's got your word balloons, but kind of the difference, in my interpretation, the difference between a graphic novel and a comic book is a graphic novel is usually a complete story arc, or maybe even less of a story arc and more of just a complete story. So this has a beginning, it has an end, and it is all contained in this one book. In this one is 174 pages. So in 174 pages, this book starts and ends. Unlike comic books where they are 22 pages and can go on for a lot longer. Sometimes, years and years where you're going through the same story.
So you're saying it's perfect for our fans that have a short attention span?
Exactly. Right. And the other thing is, if you like movies like The Professional or Hitman, you will really like this story. So this story goes through a guy named Alexander Marizano, and he is a part of a Sicilian mob family, but he's only a half brother. He was I don't know that they actually say, or I don't remember if they say, but I believe his dad kind of was a Sicilian mob boss and kind of screwed around, and that's how Alex was born.
Does he ever get to say, never mess with a Sicilian when death is on the line?
No. No, but that one would have been good. Oh, that would have so been good in here. But he's kind of he was kind of exiled. You know, he wasn't really part of the family. He really wasn't treated as part of the mob family. So he kind of went off on his own and did his own thing. He joined special forces. He got honorably discharged for basically a dishonorable act because he was on such covert and secret missions that if he would have gone through a dishonorable discharge, they have to, you know, there's a hearing, a court martial, and all that stuff. And so there would have been documentation in court hearings that would have heard the stuff that he was involved in, which they said, no, we can't do that. So they gave him an honorable discharge, but basically kicked him out of the military. And you finally find out in here why. Well, you find out a little bit why he left the military, and it kind of just goes back to this is a guy who was a trained killer for the military, comes out of that, sees, you know, grew up with the Sicilian mob around him and saw all the money and guns and fame and kind of became fascinated with it. And so he went into being a hitman because he was trying to become all that in a bag of chips. You know, he wanted that money and fame. But when he gets into it, he realizes, this really isn't what he wants, but he still lives by those, by a moral compass. He still has a moral compass that tells him he never kills civilians. He plans out the targets. He executes the targets, literally, and then make sure nobody else gets caught in the crossfire. So in, out, quick, and as clean as possible. Plans it all out to a T. Knows guns, and they talk about the different types of guns. He's just scouting an area for one of his jobs, and he's saying, they've got these type of guns, and they've got this, you know, type of setup, and they've got this over here and this over there. So it's really kind of cool, a lot of fun to read. The other thing is, if you like movies and you enjoy the background to movies, so you want to see like the storyboards for a movie, you should definitely check out this book, because this book reads like the storyboard for a movie. I would not be surprised if eventually, especially with the craze of comic books, we don't see a Silence and Company movie being made and they follow along with this, because this reads really fast. It reads really clean. The art is all black and white, but you only need a couple of people to keep track of. There's only a couple of characters that you really need to pay attention to and remember and be able to recognize who they are. Alex is one of them, and they do a good job of making him stick out. He's got dark hair and is kind of clean shaven, always with a little bit of a shadow over him. And then you have one of the detectives who he's got kind of that 5 o'clock shadow scruff of a gristled detective.
Kind of like Morph.
Yeah, kind of like me. And so he always sticks out in the book. Without any coloring, you can pick these guys out as you're looking at them. Another guy is an FBI agent, and he always has a suit on, and he's got more like a light colored hair. It's not dark hair, so it's, you know, in black and white, it's white, but it's parted distinctly, so you can always pick him out when you're looking at the page, which that's really important to have these kind of characteristics and to plan out your books when you're only doing black and white, because sometimes it can be really hard you end up falling into that trap where your characters start looking the same. And when you can't distinguish a character in black and white, it makes it really hard to tell that story and to keep that story moving. You get lost. You get lost in the art.
Well, with that said, is the book violent? And if it is it distinguishable in the black and white, or is it muted back?
Well, yes, the book is violent. Within the first, it's page 2. Alex assassinates a man, which you don't actually have any idea who it is at the time. He shoots him in the back of the head, and you see it on panel. You see the muzzle flash on panel, and the murder victim head going back, and you see kind of what you know is blood, but it's all black. You know, it's just black and white, so it's just dark streaks that are coming out of what looks like maybe the guy's eye, but you're not seeing the whole thing. You're only seeing like the splashes of it on the way the panel's framed. So you'll see some things like that, but overall, there's lots of gunfire, but it's, the way they do it, I guess, I'm looking through here at a few pages because it's not really that bad. If this were turned into a movie and was straight off the storyboards here, this would be an R-rated movie. I'll tell you that much. But when you're looking at it in black and white and the way it's done, there's another scene in here where he's taking people out with headshots, and you see a streak as the bullet goes into the guy's forehead, and you'll see some splats coming out the back as you're looking at the guy's face, but that's really it. So if you can see.
Oh yeah, I see.
So those of you that watch the YouTube channel will be able to see that. So it's really not that. It's graphic, but when it's in black and white, if this was in color, it'd probably be a lot worse because you'd have to show that bullet hole going in the front and the explosion out the back. You'd have to portray that a little bit differently with color than you do in black and white.
Well, because of that, how old would your son have to be before you allow him to read this graphic novel?
He would. That's a good question. I would say at 7 years old, he's not old enough to read this graphic novel. I would make this more of an adult graphic novel. Probably, I would say in the 14 to 15 range, older than 13. So you could probably, because it's in black and white, you could probably get away with, a PG-13 type rating if we're going to go with the movie rating type system. Because it's in black and white, and because I know my son and his understanding of fact and fiction. But if this was a movie, this would definitely be R-rated, and I would compare it to probably Deadpool as far as the graphic violence. In the way that I think this would be portrayed in live action. It's a little different looking at static pictures than it is watching somebody actually get shot. But the story is really good. It's got some twists and turns to it. You find out it kind of another analogy for it is kind of like the first Transporter movie. So he goes into a job and ends up saving a civilian from getting, basically he's told to kill her because she was an accomplice, and he said, no, she's a civilian, I'm not going to kill her. So he ends up protecting her from the rest of the group that he's working for, which is actually called Silence and Company. And you find out that Silence and Company is actually running the black market on everything. They are the bank for all criminals, and they kind of cheat and steal all the criminals to make even more money. So it's kind of interesting there. And they end up turning on Alex, and Alex brings them all down. They piss him off, and he basically says, "You pissed off the wrong guy," and brings down the whole company. There's some twists and turns with what happens and who's involved in Silence and Company that I won't spoil, because they're not huge. They're not ones where you go, "Oh man, that was amazing." But there were enough twists and turns that, you can, if you're paying close enough attention, as when I got to that point, I kind of went back and reread some of it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can kind of see where that would come from. But it's not really hinted at all that much. But it's really good. I mean, if you like Hitman, if you like The Transporter, if you like movies like The Professional, then I say check it out. Silence and Company by Gur Benshemish.
Grr. He's a pirate.
Grr. Yeah, exactly. So what do you got? You've got another book here, but this one was an audiobook?
This one was an audiobook, and I chose this one because the fact that it is an audiobook, and because of the person who read the book on the CD that I listened to. The book is called Chasing Darkness by Robert Crais. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. It's like Craig, but an S instead of a G.
Sure.
And it's not even the first book in the series. It's Elvis Cole number 12.
Look at you picking up books, all kinds of stuff in the middle. Have you read 1 through 11?
No. But another reason I chose this one was it's a Robert Crais book. You really don't have to read them in order if you don't want to.
Cool.
They're standalone stories, which is great. Elvis Cole and Joe Pike are kind of partners, kind of work solo. There's a Joe Pike series that Robert Crais also writes. There's a lot of crossover. Sometimes you can't tell where Elvis Cole series ends and the Joe Pike series begins, kind of thing.
Right.
This one is clear. This one's definitely an Elvis Cole book. Joe Pike is in it, but a very minor character. And it's read by a man named James Daniels, and he's got this soothing yet commanding voice, which to me would be perfect for a private detective, especially one who's, not a youngster anymore.
Right.
So I think that added to the book for me. Chasing Darkness it's a crime drama. It takes place in Los Angeles. There's wildfires going on, and they're trying to get everybody out. They're evacuating the area. Well, the cops go to this one house, knock on the door, think, well, there's nobody there. They already left. And the lady says, no, the guy that lives there is kind of decrepit, can't really get around. Haven't seen him a couple days. I'm kind of worried that he may still be in there. So they break in, basically, and they find him sitting in a chair with a gunshot wound to the head. And at his feet is an album of women murdered victims, but the pictures were taken like at the moment they died. So there's no way in hell they were the crime scene pictures. The person who was either there when the crime happened or the person who committed the crime took those pictures.
Oh, man.
So it looks like this guy, his conscience finally caught up with him and he blew his own brains out. Of course, one of the women in the photos was her parents were a client of Elvis Cole's. And way back when she was murdered, they had this guy pinned for the murder, but he went out and proved that this guy couldn't have done it because they had video evidence of him being at another place at the time of the murder.
Okay.
So now, here's this guy with the book with this girl's picture in it, taken at a time that only somebody there when the crime happened could have taken the picture. And of course, he's getting death threats and all this other stuff because he let a serial killer go. And of course, 2 or 3 other women get killed after Elvis Cole is done with this part. But it doesn't sit right with him. He's proven this. He knows for a fact that guy was not there.
Right.
So that sets him on the path to figuring out what the hell is going on. And it's one of those books where about a third of the way through, you're like, I've got this pegged. I know exactly who it is. And then he turns the tables on you. And then it takes you a little while to figure out, okay, it wasn't that person, it was this person. And then he twists it again on you. It's like, okay, it wasn't that person. And then when you finally do get figured out who it is, the way it ends is a twist. So the book just twists and turns all the way through. And I like reading a book where I think, where they give you the evidence and the people and you think you can figure this out. And then I love the little twists they give you at the end. This one twists on you pretty regularly, and it always keeps you guessing. You think you've got it, and then they pull the rug out from under you, which is great. Plus, being read by James Daniels, it was a perfect book to go back and forth, listening to going back and forth from work.
Right.
And, it was one of those books where I would pull into the parking lot and something good would be going on, and I would just sit in my car and listen to it until that part finished before I went in. And I remember when the last big twist happened, I actually was meeting you guys at Gertz.
Okay.
And I pulled in right as the twist was happening, and I'm sitting in the car by myself, and when the twist happens, I went, son of a bitch, I didn't see that coming. I actually said it out loud. How good that twist was. Robert Crais is a fantastic author. I've read a few of his books. I've read some Elvis Cole, some Joe Pike. I recommend The Watchmen. It's a Joe Pike book. If you want to expand beyond Elvis Cole, fantastic book. But Chasing Darkness just kind of struck with me. So I wanted to review it, like I said, to show you that you could read number 12. You don't have to worry about 1 through 11 if you don't want to. But I recommend getting the audiobook. You can get it from the library for free, or you can go to audio.com or audible.com or get it off Amazon. James Daniel really brings that character to life. And I just couldn't stop listening to the book, and I was actually sad when it was over. And then I tried to find, like the next one in the series, and the library didn't have it, so I'm actually going to have to pull the trigger and purchase whatever James Daniels read, because it really made the book for me.
Right.
It's good on its own, but James Daniels really just made it that much better.
Very cool. I'll have to check that one out. Yeah, that one got even more ratings, and or even higher rating. It got a 4.2 rating. And
what's funny about that is if you read through some of them, some people were like, "Oh, he phoned this one in," and blah blah blah, and it's like, really? If that's phoned in, I can't wait to see one he really worked hard on, because holy cow, it was a good book.
Yeah. Yeah, and this one's got over 11,000 ratings. So that's impressive. Yeah,
and that book came out in 2008, so it's not a new book either. Robert Crais has been doing this for quite a while, so obviously his 12th book in that series is in 2008. So I can tell you how far back that goes, but read Chasing Darkness or listen to it, my recommendation, and then you'll want to read more of Robert Crais. And if you do, I recommend The Watchmen. Phenomenal book.
Cool.
And I actually read that one instead of listened to it. So, yeah, big fan of Robert Crais. However you say it, I'm going with Crais.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, there you go. Now, so this is proof that we do read books, and although my book did not involve prose, it was still longer than 22 pages. So,
so you feel good about that?
So nanner, boo boo.
Well, Ishabel tells us we should read the Atlantis Gene series. I don't know what that is. I'm going to have to Google that action. But if an author recommends reading a book, then we probably should read that book.
Yeah. Atlantis Gene by A.G. Riddle. I'm Googling searching.
I'm doing Google's live.
And it's on Goodreads.com. It's a mystery thriller mystery.
That looks pretty good. All right, adding it to my list, Ishabel. I'm going to have to read that.
70,000 years ago, the human race almost went extinct. We survived, but no one knows how until now. Very cool.
They're going to be saying that about us in the future when they look at the presidential race this year. It's like they somehow survived, but we don't know how.
Yeah. I kind of want to check this one out too.
Well, thanks, Ishabel. That gives me another target, another book to read.
They always get me when you put in human evolution in there. There's audiobooks. I gotta find them. I had some audiobooks that I was able to download for free on iTunes. What was it? I'm trying to find them. So Vamp here. Vamp. That's not it. Gosh, I cannot remember what they were. I'm going to have to try to track those down because I don't have iTunes anymore on any of my devices. So I don't have them anymore. And I'd already listened to all the audiobooks. They were actually they were read by Justin Robert Young. And I think they were written by Andrew Mayne, maybe. But they were really good books, and they was kind of nice listening to them. They were short little audiobooks that you could read, that you could just listen to while you're at work, and they weren't ridiculously long. So if they were actually in books, they really weren't that bad. I believe they were written by Andrew Mayne. I found his andrewmayne.com. So let's see if I can't find the books. One of them was Public Enemy Zero. So there's one that you can check out. Another one is The Chronological Man. And I think it was Grendel's Shadow, were three of his audiobooks that he had up for free on iTunes. So I don't know if they're still for free, but I'm going to guess they probably are. And those books are really good too if you're looking for some audiobooks to listen to. And he's got a whole bunch of other books that he has written. And if they're anything like those audiobooks, then they're going to be really good. So
sweet.
There's some more stuff out there for you. See, we do read some things. So there you go.
Well, we ran everything from a graphic novel to an actual physical book to an actual audio book. So
yeah.
We're cultured, bitches. We are cultured.
That's right. And
I'm listening to Arthur C. Clarke right now, Childhood's End. I'll maybe talk about that when it's over with.
Yeah. Actually, you can listen to the Chronological Man on Andrew Mayne's website. Just go to andrewmayne.com, and he has 10 episodes to cover that one book. So they're really quick to listen to, and they're really kind of interesting. That one's about it kind of reminded me a little bit of like Doctor Who type thing, time traveler to solve mysteries type thing. Just shows up and fixes stuff, but really, really good. And Justin Robert Young reading them is really good too. I like a lot of the stuff Justin Robert Young does. Not just audiobooks. He does some podcasts that are really good. He has a nice voice to listen to. Very well educated type sound. So, anyway, I think that just about does it for this week. What else? Do you have anything else that you would like to chime in on, Mr. Kip?
Actually, the only thing I want to say is Sunday I took a nap. And when I woke up, my wife was watching The Real Housewives of, I think it was Dallas. And after pitching enough of a fit, she turned the channel and it went to CNN and it was talking about the presidential debate. And at that moment, I realized there's hardly any difference between the Real Housewives of anywhere and the presidential debate. So as a country, we may just be completely screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no hope for you there.
Yeah. It was just rich people with nothing better to do talking shit about each other. And that's both shows. That's CNN and The Real Housewives. So
that is awesome. So there you go, everybody. We have the Politics by Kip, or just like
you're welcome. You are welcome.
Housewives of Orange County. So I want to throw out there, we've talked about a lot of different books, some audiobooks and some regular books and some graphic novels, and I'm going to put these in the notes on the YouTube description, and then we'll try to get them also in the description on the podcast. So if you want to know, if you can't remember, you listen to us and then you're like, oh, what was that again? You'll be able to check out the descriptions and the notes and see what they are, so you can go check them out as well. So, but you can also, and you know what, it'll even show up, I think, in the description when we put it up on the Facebook page too. So you can always follow us on our blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Google+. Just search for Geek Vice or go to facebook.com/geekvice. You can also follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at Geek Vice. You can follow that man over there at Kip Killigan. And as always,
you would be able to read that, except for my name thing went to the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, we don't know why it doesn't work. It'll work next week, I'm sure. That's the way things in this podcast seem to go. One week something doesn't work, like the sound effects that you put in there, the little clapping, and the studio audience, and then the next week they work. So who knows?
Yeah, well, that's the theme of this podcast. Better luck next time.
That's right. So you guys can also email us at geekvice@gmail.com. Send us your recommendations for books that we should review, or any other topics you want us to discuss, or just email us to say hi and whatnot. I want to give a shout out to Patrick Scattergood, who provided some comic books for us to review earlier, and he said he's going to send us episode or issue 2 of The Meek to review as well. So I'm going to go back and reread episode 1, and when we get episode 2, and we will be talking about that in future episodes. So you can go check him out at Dark Pond Creations, I think. I should have looked this up before I brought it up.
Poor Patrick. He's like, these guys suck.
Dark Pond. I find them on Facebook a lot. So I will make sure that that's in the show notes too. So Patrick, don't, because yes, Dark Pond Creations. That's it. So there you go. See, I'm not a complete idiot. Go look up Dark Pond Creations on Facebook and see some of the other stuff. He's got a store where you can buy his comics as well. They're really good. I like them. And he is an independent guy, so he's not part of the big publishing conglomerate that's taking over the world. So he's got that going for him, which is nice. But we will review his next issue when he sends it this way, and we both have a chance to read it. So,
absolutely.
Any last words there, Kip?
Nope, I'm done.
All right, we will see you guys next week. Thanks for listening, and see ya
later.